I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that voter suppression does not exist, whether it's historically or even presently, but particularly in the modern day time, I don't think that when people talk about voter suppression, they give it the detail and the precision that it requires when you're talking about it. In the past, the tactics were just out in front, out in the open, very obvious, very broad, very blatant. And today, they can't use the same tricks that they've used in the past as far as the exact same tactics. They have to come up with new, clever ways to get the job done. They have to change the tactics. They have to change it up. So when you're talking about voter suppression in the modern day time, you have to be very specific, very precise, and you have to deliver the numbers in what exactly is and it is not going on. But with that being said, we need to understand that what we're working on with the ADOS movement and reparations 2020 and beyond, we need to understand that if we're successful enough, to what end? The argument, particularly that the left, the Democrats, have been going about talking about voter suppression is going to be used as an excuse. It's going to be used as an argument and as a talking point. The liberals, the left, the Democrat Party, they are not going, if we don't get what we want, and if there's a massive rejection and basically a protest vote of not voting, or maybe even voting for something else other than Democrat, the Democrat Party will use this voter suppression as a talking point as to, especially in this administration with 45 and a lot of these governors, the Democrats are going to use that as an excuse to say the reason why we didn't get out the vote, or the reason why votes weren't counted, was because of the racist Republicans and their voting suppression tactics. They're not going to give us the credit. They're not going to say that we organized and we mobilized and we finally rejected the Democrat Party and we abandoned them just like they've been abandoning us, and we didn't show up to vote. They're not going to believe that several hundreds of thousands to even the millions of us collectively came together and consciously chose not to vote out of our disgust and betrayal of the Democrat Party. They're not going to want to admit that narrative. They're going to want to spin the narrative on their own. And we need to be ready on the ADOS media that we have on social media and just social media in general, because right now that's really the only outlet that we have, social media. We need to use these social media platforms to get the word out, to say, no one stopped me from voting, no one kept me from being registered to vote. Look, see, I have proper identification. No one's, yes, I know my proper location to go cast a ballot. No one stopped me from voting. I consciously chose not to vote. Because if they try to go out there with that argument and that narrative, and just like we've been doing so far when it comes to reparations, if they see a massive pushback and counter argument on social media, taking away those legs of that voter suppression argument, what are they going to be able to say? They're going to have to answer to the benign neglect, to the trickery and the betrayals, the stabbing in the back, the disloyalty. The Democrat Party is going to have to answer for their sins, I would say, hopefully, historically, as well as more presently. Okay, so as a people, as a community, as a voting bloc or non-voting bloc, we have to be ready for that moment. That if something happens and we don't get what we want and we walk away, that we're ready to give a response as far as why we didn't vote, or why we didn't get registered, or why we didn't show up, and the reasons why. And we need to be able to list very clearly and effectively those grievances, okay? And I do believe that a certain level of voting suppression takes place, but check this out. If we don't get what we want, and if we choose not to show up, in fact, I think that the voting suppression has been put in place by primarily Republicans with their Southern strategy, but it does happen in other states. I think that their voting suppression tactics actually will backfire on them, because inadvertently it will basically assist the Blexit or the Blackzit, whatever you want to call it. It will assist that effort as far as keeping our numbers down and not being present and represented at the ballot. You know, so in the reparations movement, in the no ADOS agenda, no reparations, no vote movement, inadvertently, the tricks that the Republicans have done will actually help our numbers and pad our numbers and make it look even better. You know, I would like to believe that there would be more of us who consciously chose not to vote, but even those who were maybe denied in voting through trickery, at the end of the day, is going to have the same outcome, regardless of what the reason was. Us not being counted at the ballot, you know, and then you're going to get a certain outcome. And then if they see on social media that we're telling them the reason why we didn't vote, we're telling them that we're fed up, and we have a list of demands and grievances, and we want these demands met or else, you know, if they pay attention to what they're going to see on social media, then they're going to say, what is the Democrat Party going to do if they don't take care of their most consistent voting bloc probably since the 1960s? And if we're successful enough in the event of, if we don't get what we want, it could be the end of the Democrat Party as we know it, and it could cause a complete political party realignment in this country that could be something that's absolutely historic. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna break it down in this video, maybe I'll get into it later. You could basically end up in a situation where you might end up with like 7 or 8 political parties moving forward, and 6 to 7 of them would be essentially, well, no, I take that back. Most of them would be new parties. Okay, so we need to stay on message, we need to stay on code, we need to be united. 2020 and beyond, our #1 priority for ADOS is reparations. Reparations, reparations, reparations. Reparations now, reparations cash payments, preferably, maybe some land, but reparations. The debt is owed, and the debt needs to be paid. It is far too long. It is far overdue. The payment is long overdue. You know, America is in default. The fact that they owes us reparations. Okay? And don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Voting is a business transaction. It's not a civil obligation. You don't owe anything to history or to your ancestors. Don't listen to any of these other narratives and talking points. Voting is a business transaction. I'm going to give you my vote, or I'm going to donate to your campaign in addition. What are you going to do for me and mine in return? That's what everybody else has been doing. That's why you have these lobbyists. Everybody does this to get their demands met, to get these politicians to do their bidding. I thought that was the way it was supposed to be, okay? Voting is a business transaction, plain and simple. And if we aren't going to get our business demands met, we're going to hold our business, we're going to hold our dollar, we're going to hold that vote, and we're going to take that energy and we're going to put it someplace else until we get our demands met. It's as simple as that, okay? So we need to be ready for this. We need to be proactive. We need to be ready to have responses and to flood the internet and even to organize in other ways, you know, to release our reasons, to release our grievances, to give our justification, and to give our demands. That if you don't give us what we want, we're not going to participate in certain American institutions, and how it could change the political landscape, how it could change the economic landscape, how it could change the social landscape, so be it. You know, but since you don't want to give us full participation into this society, we're going to go somewhere else and we're going to build a society of our own. Unless you're going to give us what we want. Then maybe we'll talk. Then maybe we'll talk. I would still want us to go and build our own thing, but we need to make these demands. So look, everybody, you need to be ready for this. We need to get together. We need to get organized. We need to be ready to release our talking points and our messaging. We need to have the narrative ready. We need to control the narrative. Don't let them control the narrative, you know, through the mainstream media, just like how they tried to say that, you know, reparations was nothing but a bunch of Russian bots and it was the Russians trying to interfere in the elections and it wasn't real. It wasn't organic. It wasn't anything that you could trust with boots on the ground and with tangibles and credentials and receipts. No, it's real. We're going to show them the tangibles. We're going to show them the credentials. We're going to show them the receipts. And we're going to let them know that this thing is real. And if you're not going to take care of us, then you're going to have a reckoning you're going to have to deal with, America. And you're going to have to settle that with all of these other factions that you have in the country. But it's not going to include us, because we're going to go off and we're going to do our own thing. So get ready. There's a train a coming. And if there's no reparations, we're not going to get on board. And we're going to go somewhere else. Okay, so I wanted to get this out there. Everyone pay attention to what's going on. Stay on code. Stay on message. Be proactive. Control your narrative. Control the argument. Don't allow the Democrat Party or the liberals or the left, you know, don't let them put words in your mouth, thoughts in your head. You know, don't let them speak for you. Don't let them speak for us. Only we can speak for ourselves. Only you can speak for yourself. Okay? So they're going to do whatever they want to do in this system, but we need to control our actions. So that's it for this message. Until then, next time, I'm signing out. Shalom.